What's up, everybody? We are back for another exciting episode of Talking Paranormal. I'm joined by my co-host, as always, Matt Monroe. Matt, what's up, buddy?
Oh, just another wonderful day. It's been wonderfully pleasant weather-wise here.
It has been, we've got some fires that are going on like 50 miles to the east.
Yeah.
So it looks kind of demonic outside. It's like all hazy, and the sun was trying to peek through the haze, and it was all like kind of a nasty orange color, and there's ash all over the cars. It's pretty gnarly. There's a pretty good forest fire going on right now.
Man, that's rough, man. I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, you know, it when you live close to those areas, man, it's scary. Like, I know one of our buddies is going through that stuff right now. It's like, man,
I love this post. I went for my prescriptions as he loads up his Hemi.
Yeah, that's funny. Um, can you blame the guy? Like,
No.
I mean, he's got a lot of stuff. So getting all of his important belongings, like family stuff, and then going, okay, now I got to get my fun stuff out.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, man, Mother Nature, gives no, what's.
We've said it many a times. Damn nature, you're scary.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, it's crazy. The conspiracy guy in me goes, hey, I know they can do cloud seeding. Why aren't they making it rain? You know what I mean? But you know how that goes. Today is Matt and I did not discuss this week's topic. So Matt, basically said, surprise me. And this is a subject that I've wanted to talk about for a long time because I just don't know what to think about it. And I want to get Matt's take on it. We'll be talking about it a little bit later after we review a few videos. And every time we review videos, we always get into other theories, and the podcast, it's funny how it goes because it can go off the rails a little bit, come back on, go off, go back on. But I think that's what makes the show fun. But I want to talk about the Men in Black tonight.
Ooh.
The Men in Black. Obviously, it's funny because as I was watching some videos, there were some people that I realized they probably only think of Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones when they think about the Men in Black.
Yep.
And they don't realize that as fantastical as those movies are, they're based in real accounts from real people that have experienced these Men in Black approaching them after they've had encounters with UFOs. And even in some cases, I've heard stories about encounters with Bigfoot that have had results of knocks on the door, and it's the Men in Black. So very, very interesting subject. We got a couple videos that kind of give you a background of the Men in Black, and then Matt and I can get into what we think about it. I'd like to say shout out to Dustin and Mike in the chat. Thank you guys for joining us.
What's up, fellas?
And I guess let's just crack this off. Matt, some of these videos are what you sent me, and then I think there's quite a few on the Men in Black that I brought in because there are some interesting videos. One in particular I think is in here that I've never seen before, relating to what we can assume is a man in black. So let's get into this first one. I don't remember what order these are in, so we're just going to go off the fly. All right.
Sounds good.
Here we go.
Roman numerals, that's MCMLXVRIVCLML.
Okay, real quick. I remember this one. So Matt sent me this, and you pay attention to the background of this street that this guy is talking about. In the background, you can see something very suspicious, but you got to really be looking for it. So check this out. They're in Pompeii.
Roman numerals, that's MCMLXVRIVCLML.
This is the main street leading up to the Forum. These little openings are things like shops. Through there is a big posh house, and this would have been incredibly busy at the time of the eruption, teeming with Romans doing Roman stuff. And it probably is worth remembering that this actually is a mass grave.
A lot harder to see on the screen than it was.
Yeah, I was going to say, it did not translate well, so I'm sorry, everybody. It is what you can see. I'm just going to describe it. It says, I don't think we're going to get anybody to really see it here. What it is is in the distant background, you can see a little bit of a figure kind of form, walk halfway across the street, and then it fades out again.
Yeah, it really reminds me of like how the Predator looks when he's cloaked. Um,
Yeah.
I was trying to pay attention to when it came on screen because once I saw it, I was like, oh, it's going to be hard to see on a screen. I highly doubt anybody's going to be able to see it on their phone, which is unfortunate because it is interesting. This apparently came from a documentary, and in it, assuming it's not CGI'd, the
Yeah.
guy's talking, and then you see this figure kind of float across the screen. Very, very interesting video. I don't even know what to think about it. You think it's legit, Matt?
I mean, it's a legitimate documentary, so I don't know if somebody just like took the footage and worked it in afterwards or what. But I mean,
Yeah, I would like to see the original footage.
Yeah, I would like to try to find that documentary and watch it and see if it's in there.
Yeah, for sure. But interesting nonetheless. We always talk about when you talk about seeing ghosts, usually you see them at night or in dark places. This is broad daylight.
I've seen my fair share in the middle of the day.
I have not. Most of the accounts I've ever heard have happened at night, the 3 a.m. bit, the after midnight bit. During the day, that is, I mean, we've seen videos on the show. The one where the lady's in like her entryway, and then all of a sudden that living room door, whatever, that glass door, remember that, Matt? And it slams shut. That was during the day.
Yeah.
So, I mean, these things happen during that. That would almost freak me out more because I'm expecting something in the middle of the night. It's like, okay, what do you expect? Funny enough, this was not on camera last week. So,
oh yes, I was hoping we were going to talk about it.
So Matt and I, after we end the broadcast, we usually chat for a little bit and just BS for a while. And so we're sitting here, and I thought that my wife had long gone to bed. And we're talking, and I look, the door behind me opens up, and it cracks just like that much, and then it slowly shuts. And I didn't see anybody. It was darkness.
No, you couldn't see a soul in that doorway.
And it literally freaked me the hell out. I almost couldn't believe it was happening. Like, it was really surreal. So I immediately got up and went over there, and I went to grab the door. And if you remember Matt's story, when his mom tried to get into his room when he saw the figures, she couldn't even budge the door. I grabbed the door handle and I couldn't budge it because my wife had opened the door, thought we were still alive, shut the door, and basically didn't want to just let it go because it would make noise. So she kind of held it there. So I'm pulling on it like, oh my God. And then I realize it's her because I pull it open and there she is. And I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? But legitimate scare. So Matt and I have both been scared. You got scared on the show. I wish that had happened on the show because man. You want to see me scared. It was legitimate. I was legitimately freaked the hell out.
Oh, dude, we both were sitting here like, there's no way.
Yeah. I did want to mention, now that I'm thinking about things that happened last week, when we watched those, the Tommy Wells and Larry Wells videos, I had to do some research on, because, when he was talking about researching the Necronomicon, in my head, I was like, I know I've heard of it, but I don't remember at what capacity, because I've heard of a lot of like Book of the Dead type stuff, and the Necronomicon, I know I had heard of it, heard about it, and
it's Evil Dead, right?
It's fake. It's absolutely 100% fake. It was like H.P. Lovecraft. It's a Lovecraftian, and I think it has something to do with the Evil Dead as well. It's not even a real book, so I don't know if they were faking all that footage and they didn't know what the hell they were talking about, or if there's some other book out there that they were confusing it with, because they did mention incantations. But I'm going to go ahead and, I talked about those videos being some of the most convincing videos I've ever seen. Some of the most convincing videos are bullshit. Let's be honest, until they're proven wrong. And the hoax is,
man, we need to do a hoax episode.
We should.
Just find all the hoaxiest videos we can find and just roast them for a straight hour.
That would actually be a lot of fun. Hold on a second. So we are live right now, and in the chat, Dutch Guy's Garage, our buddy Dustin, says that he's got another research topic for us. 7,000 missing elongated skull skeletons from the island of Malta during the start of World War II have never been found. 7,000 elongated skull skeletons. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen them or not, but specifically in South America, these elongated skulls have been found. And it's long been said by researchers and, professionals that these skulls were elongated due to the binding of skulls of children. And as these children develop, their heads go into that shape. While that is pretty well known that they did bind skulls, a lot of it is said to be because they wanted to emulate their gods. But an interesting fact that was recently pointed out, and I say recently because I was doing some research on the subject, and they said, okay, fine, elongated skull, they binded the skull. That's cool. Look at this one. The eye sockets on that thing were gigantic. And they go, what were they doing to enlarge the eye sockets? So it definitely raised the question of, that's a good point. If they're binding the skulls to elongate them, that makes sense. But why are their eye sockets so much bigger than normal humans? So I don't know. I don't know what to think about these elongated skulls. Matt, what do you think about those things?
I'm looking at a little bit of it on my other screen.
Mm-hmm.
Man, they look pretty wild. Hold on a second.
Yeah, pull them up. The island of Malta, standing stones, and tied to the Cyclops myth. Interesting. All right, let's see what we're looking at here. So
right here's a skull they found in Peru, and this is allegedly a skull from Malta. Man, it's just wild looking, like, especially with how far out the nose bone comes, like that area around the nose. Because like on a normal human skull, it's just there's nothing. Like, because our nose is like nothing but cartilage. Like, show you, pull this one up real fast. Like, see, these are elongated, but that one's more of a normal human skull right here. That one's a little elongated, and that one's really elongated.
So very interesting. And I just don't know how much, because I know that there was another anatomical, I think that's a word I can use in this situation, anatomical feature on these skulls that proved that they weren't artificially elongated. And I think it was how the base, or not the base, but the plates in your skull connected or something like that.
Okay.
I would have to do more research. This would be a great show topic.
It really would be. Because I mean, like, you got like all kinds of different things that have to do with skulls. I mean, just throughout the world, like the diamond skulls and the emerald skulls and stuff like that. They can't figure out how they got made and stuff like that.
The crystal skulls have always intrigued me. When you start talking about we can't figure out how they made them, that always raises eyebrows.
Oh yeah, I'm always like, aliens. But I mean, in all reality, though, like we've said in the past on a couple of episodes, is it very well could just be what's the word I'm looking for here? Just highly advanced ancient civilizations is also another thing we've talked about.
I really do believe it. I believe that there's some stuff in history that we just aren't privy to.
Right, I do believe as well.
So Dustin also says here that the 5 elongated skulls at the Malta Central Museum are missing the metaphoric ridge, which, because I had to look that up because I don't know what the hell it is. It is the ridge that it looks like it's the ridge that goes at the top of your skull, like right above your forehead. That's what it looks like in this picture that I'm looking at. That's interesting. Yeah, that's it. We're gonna have to dive deep into that subject a little bit, because that's definitely an interesting topic.
Oh, for sure.
I just once again, I know I've heard of elongated skulls in South America,
Hmm.
but I believe there are elongated skulls as well in Africa and probably some other countries. Um,
So like the binding thing. So have you heard of like seen the tribes where they put rings on the young women's necks and it
yeah,
stretches their necks? Did you know they would actually die if they took those off?
really? Oh yeah, I guess
They're-
because their
It
head
would
would
it
just
would
flop
it would
over.
get topsy turvy and they would like either break their neck or suffocate.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy. Um, those old things, the things they did back then is just so strange. But
Yeah.
how if these civilizations had no way of contacting one another, how would two civilizations on either side of the world go, you know what, let's bind our skulls and make them long? you know
I
that
mean,
kind of shit.
binding was kind of just all over the place, like ancient China, and up until it's been several decades,
Yeah.
maybe even, but I mean, even up till I will say modern China, they did feet binding.
Oh yeah, and their feet are all jacked, and they're like,
Yeah,
you look at their feet, and some of their yeah. That I just it was looked at as like something of beauty, I guess, but it's just brutal what some countries will do. And it seems like a lot of it, has to do with women, and it's really
yeah.
sad. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. Like
It's horrific.
it's rough. It's rough stuff. I mean, yeah,
Um, yeah, I look at it as, obviously purposeful disfigurement, but uh you're mutilating somebody.
yeah,
Essentially you're mutilating their body, and I just don't agree with it. Um but let's come back to that elongated skull topic on another episode. Um
for sure.
let's let's move on. I don't even remember what this next one is, so let's check it out.
Uçağı da çek. Harika. Öyle sınır.
Nerede abi? Işık öbür tarafa gidiyor. Ciddi söylüyorum, ışık bir tarafa gidiyor.
There was a bright full moon, and below the moon was this little bright spot. We didn't know what it was, and we were filming out over the water. There was no structures in the water. There was no oil platforms. There was no ships going by, and we zoomed in. This camera had a 200 millimeter lens and an electronic doubler, so we were able to get very tight on the leading edge of the craft. The craft, you have to realize, is being lit by the moonlight, which is, as I said, a very bright moon. And then right in the front of the craft, there appeared to be 3 windows, viewing ports, whatever you want to call them. And standing in these viewing ports were typical bumper sticker gray Indians. And I saw this. You know, I mean, I looked through the camera myself, and unfortunately we recorded it. That video went to a university in Istanbul and went over extremely intense scrutiny by the Turkish government, and then the video was also sent to the UK and several other countries for analysis. By the time all that had been done, it had already been on the internet and could absolutely not be suppressed from the public. Recently, this year, the video was given to a analyst in Chile, and he did another review of the film, but this time, instead of concentrating on the craft, he concentrated on the occupants. And on my website, alienscalpel.com, you'll see the entire Chilean analysis.
Okay, so in this video, for those of you that are just listening to the show, and I always encourage people to watch the show so that you don't miss out on these videos. This is the only video that I know in existence of a UFO that actually shows in the craft, allegedly,
the aliens.
Live gray aliens.
Yeah.
And they are the quintessential, big head, big eyes, almond-shaped head, gray aliens. I have to be suspicious here, and I have to go, would they really want to be seen? We've seen so many accounts of UFOs and heard so many stories. Never have we seen a craft with windows.
Well, I mean, in all honesty, if it's real, I mean, they're probably thinking, who's going to believe them?
Yeah, no shit, right? Like, that would have been funny if they were just like, hey.
Right?
Oh, man. Yeah, that's, it's so hard to believe, but anything's possible. And if that footage is authentic, then we could be looking at the only known legitimate footage of alien creatures. Gosh, it's so tough. And then the movement, I just don't even know what to think. Do you think that footage is authentic, Matt? What do you think?
Until it's proven otherwise, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it went through some intense scrutiny and was proven not to have been tampered with. Notice they sent it to anybody but somebody in the United States.
That's telling, The United States can't really control what other governments do. What they can do is they can suppress any of that information.
Yeah.
And make sure it doesn't get to our news media. And that's why lunatics like Matt and I sit here and we tell you guys about this, and you're sitting there going, shit, I've never seen that footage either. You know what I mean? So it wouldn't surprise me if it is 100% legit, and the powers that be just do everything they can to squash as much of the exposure that video gets as possible. But this is an American documentary. I'm sure this is put on several films, and if that video is authentic, you know what that means? That we're not alone, and that there are other beings in the universe that have visited Earth, unless they've already been here. So like, it's funny when you think you have the answer, the ultimate answer. Are we alone? No, we're not. Then it just opens the whole other door to all these other questions that we have about, these creatures. Where did they come from? How did they get here from that far of a distance?
It changes the game entirely.
Entirely. Changes the entire game.
So, I mean, it would have to change what we know about math. It would change what we know about science. It would change everything.
It would change our faith, for those that are highly religious. Gosh, the proof,
Well, I mean, like Marvel, just to bring up comic book movies, Marvel even addressed that about when it came to be proven that Thor and Odin and stuff were real. They addressed that and showed that a new church had popped up, the Church of New Asgard, or Church of Asgard, or something like that, Like they went back. It was basically a pagan church. They went back to worshiping the Norwegian gods.
Interesting.
And then another thing that Marvel's brought up in some stuff that I find super interesting, and I believe that they have some merit there, because I've heard this theory before Marvel brought it up, that the afterlife is based just on whatever you actually believe.
I've heard that theory that, depending on, where you fall as far as faith or beliefs,
Yeah.
some people see Jesus, some people don't. Some people have claimed to have gone to hell. That's a topic that I'd love to discuss on the show sometime, is near-death experiences. Good Lord. There's a lot of interesting stuff. I started researching near-death experiences several years ago, and I had to stop because it was really messing with my head. Because these people were like, there was a story, and I don't remember exactly what it was, but it was basically a guy had really bad addiction problems. He ended up dying, and he just wasn't living a good life.
Yeah.
And he went to what he perceived to be hell, and it changed his life. And I believe I was watching these accounts on YouTube, and then I realized that a lot of these accounts of people having near-death experiences and visiting hell were all being released on Christian channels. So I was like, I wonder if this is just Christian propaganda or if these are real stories. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I've heard of some very interesting. I watched like a little mini documentary about a guy who claimed to have been a Satanist who worshipped Satan and did the devil's bidding, and says he's talked to Satan, and says he's done incantations and conjured up demons and all this crazy shit. And then he found God and found Christ and was saved. And I'm just like, these stories are insane.
Yeah.
Because I just don't even. That's a whole nother topic too. Like,
oh, absolutely, it is. I mean, like the church of Satan. Some of the stuff they try to push is out there, man. But at the same time, look at what. I'm not bashing anybody's religion. I keep my own personal religious beliefs to myself. But I mean, just putting this out there. Look what they did in the Crusades.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Everybody likes to gloss that over in the back, and then the Crusades happened. Moving on.
I don't know. Like, Anthony Hayes is in the chat through Facebook. Let's read what he says. This is interesting.
Yeah.
He says, "Hi guys, it really doesn't matter about any of these mysteries. God is in total control over all mysteries and events. So it doesn't matter if Bigfoot or any other mystery around the world exists or not. God's plan is one big mystery to all men and women." I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Assuming there is a God, an almighty creator, the fact that any human thinks that they can comprehend the idea of concept of God and what that means is cocky. It's cocky for us to sit here and go, yeah. Like,
well,
we can't.
I think it's a giant cop out for people to just be like, it's a mysterious plan. No, he just isn't paying attention to every little thing.
I don't even know what to think. When I think about the universe and how grand of scale it is, you have to sit and go, okay, if this is never ending, you know what I mean? There's no end. It's not like you go 100 billion light years and there's a wall, because there's got to be something on the other side of that wall.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The fact that it's infinite makes me open-minded to the idea of maybe there is a higher spiritual
science experiment that they just forgot about.
Maybe. The simulation theory is awfully interesting to me.
I'll give you that one. Man, especially when you're one of those people where no matter how bad it starts to get, then something just kind of works out.
Yeah.
Oh man, I like the Truman Show. The Truman Show messed me up.
I've had some funny thoughts where I'm like, what if everybody's in on it but me?
Right? So, I mean, I've had stuff work out that shouldn't have worked out.
Sure.
And I'm like, is this the Truman Show? Am I being recorded?
Yeah, Yeah, just waiting
But
for
I
your
mean-
wife to be like, just kidding.
Like, hey, it's been great. My contract's up, so I'm gonna get recasted. I'd be like, oh. But no, I mean, Anthony, I mean, absolutely, man. If that's what you believe, I'm not here to dog it. I'm not here to say that's not the way it is. Like I said, I have my beliefs. I know everybody else has their own beliefs. I just feel like, and it's just my personal opinion. I just feel like he works in mysterious ways. I'm sorry, I feel like that's just a giant cop out to just try to explain. Oh well, this horrible thing happened, and I'm extremely faithful, and I'm extremely loyal to this faith, and this horrible thing just happened. The Lord works in mysterious ways. He won't give you more than you can handle. No, it's life. It sucks. You just got to keep going.
I can't stomach that because I was going through the news the other day, and I try to stay out of the news because it's so dark and it makes me hate humanity.
Yeah.
And I read this story about this guy. He's a father, and he had like a 3-year-old daughter, and it was so sad. It almost made me cry. He beat his daughter with an aluminum bat to death. And as a father myself, I could not imagine. Like I was vacuuming today, and as I'm vacuuming, I'm going like this with the vacuum, right? And my daughter, unbeknownst to me, is standing behind me holding the cord up because she saw me like, you know how you're vacuuming, you don't want to run over the cord, so you hold up the cord.
Yeah.
Well, she was holding the other end of it, and I didn't see her. And bam, I got her right in the side of the head. I felt like such a piece of shit. I was like, oh my God. You know, when you see stuff in the news about these people that do these horrific things, another story I read was a guy cut his ex-girlfriend's head off in the middle of the street, decapitated her, sawed her head right off.
About that.
You know what I mean? God works in mysterious ways. God would let something like that happen? This all-loving God?
Yeah, where's the mystery?
Yeah, hey Jesus, it's about time to come back. You know what I
Like,
mean?
man, we clearly cannot be trusted with this. So let's call it a day.
Yeah. How do you explain when someone dies, they come to you with a beautiful message from their soul, unless their realm is God told? I've never had that happen. And Anthony, to be honest with you, there's been 2 people in my life that have died that I thought for sure would have some sort of message for me. And either I'm not receptive to it or they're not talking. I discussed with my grandmother many times. I told her I want to know if there's life after death. So when you die, because everybody dies, we know that. I was like, send me a message of some kind. I really haven't gotten that message yet. If you want something bad enough,
Your brain will make sure you see it.
Yeah, right. So how do you prove that that's true? How do you prove that person? You know, I've seen things where I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
I mean, like I said, I'm not here to bash what anybody believes in.
Absolutely not.
I mean, I could be completely wrong about my beliefs, or they could be completely wrong about their beliefs. It's just whatever you believe.
Yeah. Hey, I want nothing more than to die and have Jesus go, man. Hey, da 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 da.
Right? Like I would love to hit the ground, and then bam, heaven's full of Mopars, and Jesus loves big burnouts, and he's wearing a tuxedo T-shirt.
Yeah.
I would love it. I would love it. I mean, is that what's going to happen? I don't know.
I hope they have a sense of humor, because I think it would be funny to get up there and be like, I'm here for the 73 virgins. I want it to be real so bad. And that's why, to be honest, that's why I started researching life after death and these near-death experiences, because these people are the ones who experienced death. They were clinically dead and came back to life.
I mean, I don't know, man. Like I said, I'm with you. I want to believe it's there, but I mean, man, there's a lot of bad shit that happens for there's supposed to be some omnipotent being making sure everything's going according to a plan.
Yeah, what kind of plan is that? But then again, you know, we are just, at the end of the day, you know, for us to sit here and go, we're more important than bees, or we're more important than lizards. You know what I mean?
I'll never say I'm more important than anything.
We're
I'm
special.
just some dude.
We're special. Human beings are like, I don't know. I find it. I don't know. There's so many questions when you talk religiously. No, Anthony. Hey, like Matt said, we're not here to judge anybody's beliefs. That's what you believe, dude. By all means, I hope there's a God. You know what I mean? The scary part about that is if there's always a light and dark. There's always a black and white. There's always good. There's always evil. You know.
Ooh, yeah, my favorite's to Christians who don't believe in the demon stuff. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, so you want
that say
all
it's
the
not
good,
real.
none
Yeah.
of the bad that comes with it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not buying that either. Like, um, I don't know, and maybe that's why I get into, or why I'm so fascinated with this kind of subject matter, because I want answers. And to be honest, I've had to tell myself many times, probably not going to get the answers you're looking for, dude. You're going to look your whole
And
life.
we won't, and that's fine. That's all part of it. Like, that's why we're infinitely curious. It's just we're trying to learn what we can. And Scott, I completely agree. There's always more questions than answers.
100%.
I mean, like, who's to say? Because I mean, who's to say who got it wrong? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I greatly lean into reincarnation.
Mhm.
I greatly lean into the fact that I think we get reincarnated until we have that just right life, and then we move on to the other world, the afterlife or whatever. Because who's to say? Because 9 times out of 10, the stories you hear in the near-death experience is there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Yep.
9 times out of 10. Who are we to say that the light at the other end of that tunnel is not you being born again? And then that's why kids are so smart and learn stuff so fast. And then by the time they hit a certain age, they forget most of what they experienced before. And it's just a whole new life. And then that's why you get some people that are like randomly like just moving on with anything like a deja vu. Like, oh, because you experienced it in a previous life or something. Who knows? Who knows? But I mean, I'm just saying, bad stuff happens. Simulator turns off. Yes, it's the screen powering down.
Wi-Fi's going out.
But I mean, man, there's so many different things it could be. Like, I greatly appreciate the way Buddha looked at things. I greatly appreciate the way that Jesus looked at things. I greatly appreciate the way many other. Anthony, I feel like you're starting to get a hair bit combative about it. When I've said many times, I'm not here to judge you. I'm not bashing what you believe.
I don't. It's hard. I mean, that's what religion is based on, faith. You cannot. Nobody's been able to prove anything, and that's, I said it before. I've done a lot of research on whether or not Christ was a real human being that walked this planet, and from the research I've done, it appears that Christ was a real person.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying they weren't real. I'm not saying that none of it's not real. I'm just saying everybody has to find their own belief that gets them through life.
Yeah, it's just, that's human beings, man. We all believe something different. It's crazy. Now, when I talk to atheists and they say that there is absolutely no way in hell that God exists, there's no higher power, there's no, divine intervention, there's no grand design. Look at some of the stuff on this planet. When you start getting into the Fibonacci sequence.
I think so.
Yeah, and the mathematical, like when you really get into the science of stuff, it really makes you wonder. It's like, man, maybe this all was designed, but
I mean, it very well could. I mean, it's all good, Anthony. It's just whenever I see somebody start putting in "buddy" randomly into a conversation, that really is like, in my mind, is like, oh, are we fighting?
This show's never about fighting. This is this is an open discussion. We're all open-minded here, right?
Super open. I mean, I'm probably one of the most open people I've ever met. Thanks to all the voices.
Dustin says, I believe we would have world peace if we had Count Chocula year round.
We do in the United States.
Speaking of world peace, like, that's one thing. My grandma was very religious, and she always, I swear, she held out as long as she could because she wanted to see Christ come back. And she always told me that be wary, because the second coming, when it first happens, is going to be the Antichrist. And this guy's going to come in like the angel of all angels and create world peace. And everybody's going to think this is the guy. He's going to save us. And as it turns out, that's the Antichrist.
Turns out false.
But let's get back into videos.
Dude, this is what we're talking about, sidetracking.
Let's yeah, exactly. And these are great conversations. I like talking about this stuff because philosophically, I know that if Matt and I sat in a room and wrote down our beliefs, they'd probably be so drastically different. You know what I mean?
Oh, I guarantee it.
I, it's 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 really crazy, and there's just
It
so many different possibilities.
In all honesty, I'm such a jackass. I would write some of the most outlandish things down just to see your face as you read them.
I, there. Before we get into the next video, I will say this. I ran across a bunch of videos of these people going, "What if Satan is the good guy?" And they're like, the points they were making were fine. Like, I don't believe that at all. But some of the things that they were saying, I was like, yeah, what if he's just like, look, dude, this guy's trying to control us. I'm the freedom guy. I want you to do whatever you want to do. I was
What
like,
show was it?
these people are kind of
Lucifer.
crazy, but yeah.
The show Lucifer, man, I loved that thing. I loved it.
I got into it for a while. I think season 3 is where I stopped watching.
Man, it gets a little out there, but man, I loved it. I thought it was a good time. It was a fresh concept.
Yeah, it was.
For cop procedural. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's get back into real world stuff real quick.
All right,
that we know that can be proven. So we've talked about Bigfoot on this show. We've talked about cryptids, creatures that were said not to exist that actually were found and proven to exist for a long time. And the movie The Congo was kind of based on these chimps, these larger than normal chimps, highly aggressive. So this video's pretty interesting because they were proven to be true. Check it out.
Have you heard of the lion-killing chimps in the Congo? So in the Congo, they've got two different names for chimps. One is the tree beaters and the other is the lion killers. This is said to be a photo of one from the early 1900s. It's a lot larger than normal chimps, which they're said to be in a region of the Congo that's extremely hard to get to, and the locals say that they're a rare subspecies that can get up to 6 feet tall and over 300 pounds. This is a more recent picture of one that many say is real. As you can see, it's bigger than the dudes behind them, which is just insane for a chimpanzee. They've also found skulls from these chimps that have a ridge on the top of their skull, which is more of a gorilla trait. It's not normal for chimps to have those. Pretty crazy. What do you want to hear next? And
bet you didn't hear about those in school, huh?
Not even a little bit. I mean, I've heard about them just because I grew up on Discovery Channel. And I've heard them talked about a little bit, but not a lot. One of the main reasons is because they're so hard to document and to investigate because they're so large and so aggressive that most film crews won't even attempt it.
I wouldn't. Hell no. Like,
I mean, I'm just saying, man. I mean,
it's crazy. Lion killers. You know what I mean? A 6 foot tall chimpanzee that weighs 300 pounds. That's scary. Man, I wonder how crazy the legends must have been when these villagers and stuff are talking about these giant apes. And they're like, they're not gorillas. These are, because you hear stories about gorillas and their bluff charges and stuff, but gorillas for the most part seem to be a lot less aggressive than chimps.
Gorillas are chill. They are very chill.
You hear these stories about chimps. I just recently read some accounts of like a tribe of 30 chimps attacking a little squad of gorillas and stealing the baby just to rip it to pieces and eat it.
Yeah.
Attacking gorillas. You know what I mean? A gorilla can defend himself, but against 30, like, that's a tough fight. The fact that a creature like that, a giant chimp, exists really, keeps my mind open to other possibilities of relict hominins that could still potentially exist on planet Earth, not limited to Bigfoot.
Yeah.
I've definitely heard stories, and we've talked about this before, of caveman-like feral humans in places like Siberia and Russia. And then elsewhere in the world too, down in Indonesia, they think that there could still be those little hobbit people out there somewhere. So, I think the Indonesian name is the orang pendek is one of them.
That's more of a like Bigfoot cousin than a hobbit person.
But very small, not sized like a Bigfoot. So, when I see things like that and I go, okay, proof of something that we didn't believe or know to have exists, and it's something that raises your eyebrows, like, oh wow, there's giant chimps. That's that's a scary thought. I'm glad we don't have those in America, Matt. You're not going to surprise me like, oh, we got those in Arkansas.
Bro, you'd already know if we had those.
Anthony asked if we'd ever watched the Boondock. I don't know what that is.
Like the Boondock Saints, the
Boondock Saints, yes.
Yeah, I've seen Boondock Saints for sure.
Scott, I would imagine it could take on a gorilla, depending on.
Since normal chimps, if they're in a big enough group, would take on gorillas. I'd imagine this thing.
Especially with how agile chimps seem to be in comparison to a gorilla,
You gotta realize, like, chimpanzees are kind of like your CrossFit bros, and then the gorilla is like your bodybuilder.
Yeah, definitely. Aaron from Peckerwood Customs is in the house from down under. What's up, Aaron? Yeah, man. Cryptids. If I could go back in time, I probably would have pursued cryptozoology as a profession because it's just so interesting. So interesting. So hard. But then it's like,
just wait. One of these days, y'all are going to tune into the show, and there's going to be Doctor in front of these names.
Never say never, dude. Never say never. Okay, this next video, I don't think we're into the Men in Black stuff yet. Let's check out this next one.
A crane operator in Serbia was working on top of a mountain just next to a mine when he saw something he couldn't believe. It looked like some sort of giant creature, and from a distance he could see it very clear. He got his camera and he started recording it, and this is what he saw.
Interesting footage. Lake monsters have always been a curiosity of mine.
Yeah. That thing is huge. I don't know what it is, but it's huge.
Giant, right? What I thought was whale. I want to know more about this location. They said Siberia. Is that what they said?
Yeah. And I don't think I could be completely wrong. Because somebody would probably try to explain this away and say it's just a large elephant seal or something. But man, that thing's big. I don't think elephant seals range over that way.
The geography, it looks like the guy's a crane operator, so we imagine he's, at least a couple 100 feet up.
Right.
The geography, that looks like a larger body of water. I don't know if it's connected to the sea or not. So if it's not connected to the sea, then what freshwater creatures are that large? I'm still trying to fight my belief that the Loch Ness Monster is actually a large eel.
Have you heard the sea turtle theory for the Loch Ness Monster?
I have heard the sea turtle theory, which is interesting. That's interesting as well.
These turtles can bury themselves in the substrate for years. I'm like, they gotta breathe. They can't just be at the bottom of the loch, just buried. Jackasses! I swear to God.
I want lake monsters to be real so bad because my initial theory was that the Loch Ness Monster was a plesiosaur, which would go along with my idea that I still believe it's possible, entirely possible, that there are certain dinosaurs or prehistoric animals that still exist.
Right.
But until I see 100% proof, because when you talk about the stories about Loch Ness, one of the stories is this was like in the early 1900s, I believe, or maybe late 1800s. No, it had to have been the 1900s because these people were driving along this road on the loch and they saw the Loch Ness monster out of the water. Long neck creature, flippers, totally described a plesiosaur.
Yeah, like it was
So
like crossing a road or something, is what
yeah,
I heard. Yeah,
crossing a road to go right into the loch. So gosh, I don't know. Sea monsters also really intrigue me. You know, we talked about this before. The sea, who knows what the hell is in the oceans? You know.
oh man,
So, moving on. Let's get into the main subject here. I think these are the Men in Black videos. So I lined up a few. Some of them cover the same stuff, but let's just watch them anyway.
Bridgeport, Connecticut, 1953. Albert K. Bender, the nation's top UFO investigator, receives a threatening visit that will bring his research to an abrupt and premature halt.
Albert K. Bender founded the International Flying Saucer Bureau. This was during the big UFO flap of 1952 when flying saucers were witnessed over Washington, D.C. and many other areas around the world. And this organization blew up big within that first year. However, just a year later, he suddenly ended the International Flying Saucer Bureau, and people wondered why. And what happened was that he came home one night, went into his bedroom, and suddenly these three dark, shadowy figures materialized through his wall into his bedroom. They were wearing the hats and the overcoats. They had glowing eyes, and they smelled like sulfur.
According to Bender, the three entities communicated with him through telepathy, warning him to discontinue his UFO research and stop publishing his influential magazine, The Space Review. Afterwards, he became ill and didn't eat for 3 days.
After this experience, Bender was repeatedly visited. He said they gave him headaches, they controlled him telepathically, and he ultimately gave up his UFO researches and stopped publishing the Space Review, in which he documented UFO sightings throughout the world.
He told the people that had been subscribers and he was working with, they told me, we come from a very, very far distant place in this universe. And we have been coming and going from your planet for some time, and we cannot allow you or anyone to interfere. And in fact, we have taken many humans from this planet to cover up our operations until we are done.
dang.
Now, I don't know about you guys, but I got a real demonic feeling when he started talking about these creatures coming in with the red eyes,
Sulfur,
really ominous.
So
starting
what if
to
people
control his
are
thoughts.
describing demon attacks, and they're actually experiencing like an alien encounter?
Yeah, I've heard of this is getting into the shadow people. There's been many accounts of people seeing the same figure, a dark shadow that appears to be wearing some sort of a hat.
Yeah,
and
that's a lot of hauntings.
Yeah, which is interesting. It's like the Hat Man. Look up the Hat Man. It's legit. Again, people from all walks of life having this encounter, and then this guy has this encounter. And like as I was watching that again, I kind of thought to myself, okay, let's just pretend that this isn't an alien. Let's see if what they said to him could pertain to what a demon could possibly say. And I was like, a demon could very well, we've taken many humans. We're from a very, 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 very far away place in the universe. Very ominous sounding shit. You know what I mean? The alien demon theory is out there. One that I've looked into a couple times. It just gets sometimes I get so overwhelmed with information and theories that I just have to back off for a couple weeks and just go about my normal life and forget about it because it starts getting my head into a weird place. But it's not outside the realm of possibility that aliens are in fact demons.
Yeah. Or demons are in fact aliens.
Or demons are in fact aliens, very possible. Okay, this is another video talking about the Men in Black. Some of these videos will show footage and pictures that have been circulating the internet for a while, claiming to show actual Men in Black. Let's check it out. I think this is one of them.
The Men in Black are real. For decades, people have reported encountering these strange men after they witness a UFO. In many cases, they show up at witnesses' houses in vintage black cars to ask bizarre and intimidating questions. There's also something strange about them, as they appear devoid facial features, or are often sickly pale, and act almost robotic with their movements. It's said that these are either government agents, or aliens trying to cover up UFO activity. That is why many believe.
I'm going to go right into the next video. I'm actually going to play these next two, and then we'll start talking.
Yeah.
In an unknown law firm in Alaska, a secretary inexplicably went missing one afternoon after having a strange interaction with a suited man. In the CCTV footage, you can see the secretary at the front desk typing things into a computer. That's when a tall bald man walks in wearing a black suit. At one point, she shakes her head and points to the door, as if asking the man to leave. The situation escalates further as the woman grabs a gun out of the office drawer. The suited man lifts his hand, then tilts it to the side in a strange motion. It's as if the secretary falls into a trance as she turns, takes the cartridge out of the gun, and places them both on the desk. The suited man gestures once more and the woman complies by reaching into a bag, pulling out what looks to be a camera. She then calmly walks around the desk and out the door. The suited man follows. So if the video is genuine, what is on the camera? Had this secretary been witness to some strange event and perhaps captured evidence that needed to be destroyed?
You've probably heard of the Men in Black movies with Will Smith, but did you know that they're based on real stories? For decades, people have reported encountering these strange men after they witness a UFO. In many cases, they show up at a witness's house in vintage black cars and ask them bizarre and intimidating questions. There's also something very uncanny valley about them, as they appear devoid of facial features, are often sickly pale, and act almost robotic with their movements. There's a conspiracy that these could be government agents or aliens trying to cover up evidence of UFO activity. But what do you think? Are the Men in Black real? Let me know in the comments.
So that previous video that showed the lady, I don't know any of the backstory. I wish I knew. Is the lady still missing? Interesting that she had a gun in the desk.
Yeah.
Is the footage real? The hand gestures, there was just something that seemed ominous about that whole thing too. And then this last video shows a couple different there's one pretty famous video about these two gentlemen that are wearing hats and black suits that walk into a hotel lobby to go talk to somebody about a UFO encounter they had. And then there's the famous picture of like the late 60s of the UFO researcher who was being stalked by Men in Black, and they actually got a picture of him. So with the Men in Black, I just don't know exactly how I feel about it. I do believe that if somebody sees a UFO and the government doesn't want them talking, I think they would send agents.
Yeah, for sure.
That's, I've heard recent accounts of something like that in a documentary series I've been watching, which we'll talk about someday soon. I want to see the series conclude before I really get into it, because it's one of the most compelling documentaries I've ever seen. But the other side of the coin is that sometimes these guys show up in vintage cars, which is a little strange. It's not a Crown Vic or some old vintage car. And they're, like they were saying in the videos, devoid of any crazy facial features. They often look pale and often appear emotionless and expressionless.
Yeah.
They come with very ominous messages. Everything from, we can, destroy you. We can destroy your family. We can basically, the threats that come about with some of the things that they're visiting these people for. I believe the Men in Black are a real thing, especially when it comes to the government. You know, it wouldn't surprise me that agents come and tell people to keep their mouth shut about what they saw. It's when you start getting into the weirdness and the strangeness of some of these encounters with Men in Black where I'm like, that's very interesting. Um, so I believe that both kinds of Men in Black exist. The question is, the weird ones, are they aliens? What are they? You know what I mean? Again, back to the demonic talk. A lot of demonologists have said that if a demon will show yourself as a human, that there always has apparently there's rules to this game, and the demons are not allowed to show you like I couldn't see a demon that looked like a normal human being. There would always be something off, some sort of disfigurement or something like that. And that was an explanation of the Hat Man, that maybe, you know, he's got a disfigured head or something. There's so many different little facets in these stories and these accounts and these theories that it's just, it's a rabbit hole, man. This whole thing,
everything we talk about on this show is a rabbit hole.
It's a rabbit hole. It's all a rabbit hole. It's ridiculous. I want answers, damn it. I want hard, concrete answers, and I don't think I'm ever going to get them. But what are your thoughts about the Men in Black, Matt?
Man, I think it's government agents for sure. Now, that being said, how do we know they're not aliens just working with our government?
Right.
I mean, we've talked about that before. You just don't know, man. I think there's a government agency that goes around squashing this. I believe they came out and started talking about and confirming UFOs to placate us during COVID. I think once the government decides to start being honest about something, there's something else worse going on. So I mean, I don't know, man. I think it is a real agency. I think.
Could you imagine that job? You're a man in black, right? What are these guys talking about in the car to and from the place? You know,
everyday stuff.
We really scared the fuck out of that guy.
Yeah.
Hey, we gotta stop doing this white makeup thing. It's really freaking people out, dude. Yeah,
like,
I know.
Hey,
right?
Man, I understand you're all about the theatrics of it, but I mean, we just gotta go scare the guy and tell him not to say anything. We don't gotta give him nightmares and years of therapy.
Like, damn it, Greg, did you fucking do the shaving eyebrows thing again? God damn it! Now I got to do mine so we don't fucking look so off.
They don't even go through shaving the eyebrows. They just use like latex and Hollywood makeup just cover up the eyebrows.
They're all singing in the car.
Oh yeah, they're just cruising up like it's Britney, bitch, and then they shut the car off and they're like, "Listen, game face."
Yeah, game face. That'd be. I would love to hear an account of like Men in Black and like one of them starts cracking up like.
Like they start throwing out like X-Files quotes just to see if the person will notice.
I'm Fox Mulder with the FBI, and this is my partner Dana Scully. Like, what? Yeah, very, very interesting. And you know, I've heard some people say things like, if it was all a cover up, or you know, this stuff was true, you can't possibly hold up the lie. There's so many people that would have to be part of the lie. And I'm just like, you really think it's that hard? Like,
yeah, everybody's like, oh, there's not enough. They don't have enough employees to be able to do that. I'm telling you right now, you cover up just the right amount of stuff and let the right amount of stuff leak. You can run a pretty large scale operation with very minimum staffing.
Yeah. Like I said, I'm still curious what the conversations in the car is like on the way and then from. Like,
oh man,
it's probably. I would like to think that, you know, it's just a job for these guys. Like, do they go home to a wife and kid and like?
Oh, you got a little punch card and everything. Like, yeah. I mean, you can hope that it's guys like that. And you got that one guy that's just seen too much. And he's just sitting over in the car, just like two packs a trip. you'd be like, "Did I ever tell you what happened in 48?"
Yeah. Oh, so interesting. I've always wondered what it would be like to work in a facet of government that has those types of secrets. You know what I mean? It's like, and you're told not to tell your family. Like, I don't know if even if I was sworn to secrecy, I'm such a loudmouth. I'd probably have to tell somebody. You know what I
That's
mean?
why we're not working in that agency.
I know they'd never hire me.
They'd never done.
No.
We'd apply, and they'd be like, "Ah, fuck."
But then again, like I put myself in that position, and I'm like, gosh, if they showed me some really cool shit, it would kind of be cool to like know shit that other people don't. You know what I mean?
Oh, I feel like you got one on the rest of the
Yeah,
planet. Yeah.
like I know the
I'm
fucking
with you.
truth.
I'm with you for sure.
You people don't know shit. Like, there's definitely that kind of power. You know, like it'd definitely be a power trip. Yeah, interesting. The one thing that when they were talking about the weird ones where they show up in vintage cars, I'm like, hey, could you be a little more obvious? Like, are they? Find it hard to believe that aliens would be that dumb. You know what I mean?
Hey, man, maybe they're just car guys.
Maybe.
Like shows up in a Lincoln with the suicide doors and everything.
Yeah.
they'd be like, "Sir, you don't need to." I was like, "Is that a Lincoln?"
Yeah. What's funny is you say Lincoln with suicide doors, and when they say vintage black car, that's immediately what I would think of. Like an old Lincoln with suicide doors.
Like outside of like a Galaxy, like 500 or something, what else jumps to mind when you hear, or a Cadillac? But I mean, just for me, it's always a Lincoln with suicide doors.
If I ever see a UFO and the Men in Black visit me and they're in a galaxy, I'm gonna go, really, guys? Could you be a little bit less obvious? A galaxy?
Right? A galaxy, and you come on.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's funny.
Like, oh, you didn't even leave it cool.
So okay, I guess we can drop the gavel on that. Men in Black do exist. The pictures are definitely interesting. God, could you imagine they actually got the Men in Black on camera? I wonder what the repercussions for that are. Like, all right, Gary, you're fucking fired, you moron. You had one job.
And let's not get spotted. Like, did you skip stalking 101?
Like, hey, dipshit, were you really standing in a doorway across the street just staring at him? Really, guy?
Like, you should have been 3 buildings ahead of him.
Yeah. Let's we've gone an hour. Let's get into the chat a little bit. Make sure that everybody gets their voices heard. I think we stopped right about here. Anthony Hayes says, have you guys heard of the Banshee? Yes. She's related to Bigfoot, so I've been told if bad souls see her, their face would be a picture. Someone once told me they saw someone's face like they had fear all over their face, like they saw something they couldn't comprehend. Imagine that. Actually, don't. I've definitely heard of the Banshee. I didn't hear anything about the relation to Bigfoot.
I honestly feel like Anthony's trolling us just a hair.
You think so? Anthony, you trolling me?
Because I mean, the 2 stories are from 2 completely different folklores.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Dustin says, until I was 12, I was on the path to being an archaeologist, but then I got into cars. Definitely a cool job. That would have been. Until the Smithsonian comes and you find something really cool and they want to cover it up. You know, that's a good question. How many discoveries have been made by archaeologists and the government comes in and just squashes that shit? Like, no, we're not going to let you talk about that one. And then you're like, but this is like the discovery of a lifetime. And they're like, do you want funding for the rest of your projects? You know?
Like, you know how many discoveries of lifetimes we've buried?
Yeah, you know their pocketbook's big too, and I think anybody can be paid off. Scott says we have so much interesting creatures in our lakes and oceans, needs more exploration. 100%, man. The most unexplored thing in our existence is probably the ocean.
Okay, let's talk about the giant elephant in the room while it's in my head. When they thought they got a megalodon.
That really pissed me off because the article that I saw when you sent me that, Matt, I was like, oh, I read this article already because it showed. Did you see the picture of the sonar image where you can see the dorsal fin and everything?
No, I didn't. When you came back to me, and told me, hey, it was BS. I was like, I'm not gonna get my heart broke.
Here's the thing. So I get this article and they totally honeydicked me. They're like, oh, megalodon, you know, and they're like, they got pictures and shit. So I see this picture of the sonar. And so it shows the figure as being red because it's a sonar image or whatever. And it looks like a shark. And I'm not shitting you. If you would have said this is the megalodon, I would have been like, holy shit, they found one. So I'm like, oh my God, they got one. I was excited to show you. I was like, oh, so got to read the rest of the article. I'm reading the rest of the article, and it's leading you on. And then and then they watched the figure disperse into schools of fish or some shit. And I was like, oh, and I was like, after I talked to you about it, I thought about it, and I was like, that's what they would say if they did run across a real megalodon. What are the odds that a school of fish or multiple schools of fish gather together and that research vessel or whatever just happened to be in the right place at the right time to see a 50-foot shark-shaped figure on their sonar? You know what I mean? I'm not buying it. I think it's horseshit. So I don't know. I want to believe. I really want to believe.
I think they found one, and they're like, nope.
Yeah.
Like, I think somebody jumped the gun, released it, and then they let the shit leak. And then they're like, nope, see, here we go. Doctored it up. You can see the schools of fish disperse.
Yeah. I'm going to actually see if I can find that picture really quick. It was very, very interesting. It would have been oh yeah, here it is right here. Boom. Let's see here. I'm going to try to share this on screen. But yeah, I saw it, and I was like, that looks like a freaking megalodon to me. Let's see here. I'm going to share the screen. All right. So here is a picture of the sonar. See what I'm talking about with the dorsal fin?
Yeah.
So I was like, how crazy would that be? What are the odds? Let me see here. Oh yeah, so it was a recent shark research vessel went out and actually saw this. Based on the length of the image, they estimated it to be about 50 feet long, weighing 40 tons. If I saw that on my sonar image or whatever, I would absolutely go, holy shit, we got one, guys.
Right.
Okay, yeah, here. So we waited for one of the rods to go off. However, much to our disappointment, the sharp started to transition into a large school of Atlantic mackerel that hung around the boat for about 15 minutes. Interesting. I don't know. What do you guys think? You're on a shark research vessel, and those guys are looking for that kind of shit.
You're on a shark research vessel. You have that pop up, and if you're even looking back towards the back, it even has a tail.
Yeah.
It's got the dorsal and the tail. I'm just saying.
What are the odds that a school of Atlantic mackerel just happened to make that shape? Oh gosh, it begs the question: are they fucking with us, or did they find one? And you know what? That's a lot easier to say. Oh yeah, it was a school of fish and it just dispersed. Much harder than, oh yeah, that UFO you saw was just a weather balloon. Just swamp gas. That kind of shit. Yeah. I'm still holding out hope. And the ocean is so unexplored to just go out and say there's no megalodon. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just like there's nothing here.
I bet you if they did find one, they'd just be like, oh, it's a baby whale shark. They'd probably just try to bullshit it like that or something.
Bruh.
Looking, this is Peckerwood Customs Aaron, referring back to the video of that creature in the lake. He says, looking at the land around, it looks like it could be something that's trapped when the water ran away. Yeah, could very well be. If the tide went out, very possible. Anthony Hayes, didn't the King of England just call himself Rex, which means King T-Rex? Okay. First of all, I think it's funny that so many people are hailing the Queen.
No, let's not even get into it. Let's not even get into it.
Yeah. So many questions. Dutch guys, after talking about being an archaeologist and being sidetracked by cars, he still plays around with archaeology as a side hobby. He did spend a lot of time on the Atlantean theory. Scott Cease, shadow people can be possibly demons from another realm taking humans as sacrifice. Could very well be, dude. Anything's possible, man.
I mean, shadow people are out there, man.
Wouldn't it be an easy ruse for demons to just be like, oh yeah, we're aliens. You know what I mean? What an easy ruse, you know. Anthony says, when players get played when their own turn on them, when orders come from higher up, it's odd, especially when they think they're in control. Having a laugh, an extract from my book. I'm assuming you mean Enchanting Aliens. Interesting. Oh, sure. Play the creepy stuff after I turn the lights off. That's funny. Anthony, now you're trolling me. Every time I look behind you, I see something in that doorway and car. Strange, guys. Nope. You're not seeing shit. Sounds like my girlfriend's. Could be the Men in Black be agents from aliens and or demons? More questions than answers. Absolutely, man. There's always more questions than answers. Peckerwood says the archaeologists discovering things that get hidden have been on my mind since I was a kid. Yeah, man. I can't imagine they want all their stuff released. Whoops, I skipped way ahead. That's my bad. Aaron says this whole podcast is like a massive block of Swiss cheese. You can't go far in any direction without finding a hole to go down. That's 100% correct, man. I think we both knew that when we review these videos that we would just go off on tangents and stuff. Which is one of the fun parts about the show.
I got told my face is in the shadows. Peckerwood just made a comment. I got told my face is in the shadows and I need to get better lighting. So I tried something different. I just moved it. Normally I have it back up in here.
Oh yeah.
That creates a lot of shadow. A lot creepier, I thought, but people want to see my face, is what I'm told. So trying something different.
Oh yeah, this is a good question. How many have the Vatican covered up in relation to archaeological discoveries? I imagine a lot. And Aaron follows that up with, dude, the Vatican is built on secrets 100%. I don't know about you guys, but I am very curious what the Vatican has in their archives. You know what I mean? Who knows what they have?
A lot of stuff.
Stuff we probably don't want to know.
Nope, I'm good.
Anthony says she turns up like a fox screaming, then souls realize what they're dealing truly with. Scary as shit. So I'm told in relation to the Banshee. Dutch guys, Autech, yes. We definitely will get into the Autech subject, which is the marine version of Area 51.
Yep. Okay.
Peckerwood, great point. If we can have a 30-foot squid, why can't there be a 50-foot shark? I think there is. Whale sharks reach 60 feet. Shadow people are men. God is God above men in all ways. Okay. So I think we've come to the end of this episode, and we can conclude that we believe the Men in Black do exist. To what capacity? Who knows? You know, it's anyone's guess. But
And they like Beyonce.
Yeah.
And Britney.
All the cool kids with the pumped up kicks.
Man, that song messed me up when I realized it's about a school shooting.
Right? Yeah. You don't. It's funny, man. There's a hidden message in there. I heard some ominous shit about that. Definitely changed the whole aspect of that song for me. I'm like, okay, I don't know if I like that one anymore. It does give me a weird feeling when I hear it.
Yeah.
And it's not played nearly as much on the radio anymore.
Not once people started listening to the lyrics.
No. Let's throw this out there to the audience. We've got a fairly big audience for us tonight with 8 people watching live. Thank
Oh
you
my
guys.
God.
8 people. we're moving on up. If you do not subscribe to us on YouTube yet, please just subscribe to the channel. It doesn't matter where you watch us, but please subscribe because we're having a hard time with discoverability on YouTube. You need 100 subscribers to be found in search results. That's what I'm starting to see. So if you could please share the show and just encourage people to subscribe just so that we can get that before I start getting guerrilla with my marketing and getting us out there. We need to hit that 100 subscribers because I want the show to grow and I want more people to be in the chat because it's a lot of fun. So there you go, Matt.
Fun
soon Dutch.
Fun story. That Swifty is on jack stands all the way around, and there's no exhaust. Transmission's not hooked up, and the engine does run though. So I mean, progress.
Let's do this. Why don't you guys throw out some suggestions and Matt and I will talk about them and we'll pick one of your suggestions for next week's show.
Yeah.
So Scott suggested should be an episode about songs with hidden messages / meanings. Yeah, we could do that. Yeah. There's a lot of creepy shit. We need to get Matt's friend on the show to talk about the music industry.
Yeah, I'll reach out and see when she wants to do that.
I firmly believe there's some evil demonic shit going on in the music industry with if you get a chance, watch some of these music videos and tell me that I'm crazy because it looks like there's a lot of demonic symbolism in these videos, man. Especially when it comes to
they do this, that's a thing.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. It's I think there's a lot of satanic imagery. The whole one eye thing, the all-seeing eye, you see that a lot. Definitely interesting. So I'll give you guys a handful of minutes here to throw out some suggestions. Scott, I like that suggestion. We'll keep that one. Autek, I know that was one of them. We'll throw that in there. Matt, I'm curious. We're on episode 15.
Yeah.
What's been your favorite episode so far?
Man, it's a tough one. I have to say the ghost stories one's pretty high up there for me.
Yeah, sure.
Man, I've just had fun doing all of these. I can't even think of one that really honestly stands out above the rest.
Is ghosts? Is that your favorite subject to talk about? When it comes
I do enjoy a good ghost subject, but I mean that's also one of the things I've had the most personal experience with.
Sure.
But that one's good. I do enjoy the Bigfoot episode with some of those Bigfoot videos, especially Tent Squatch. Man, Tent Squatch, probably my favorite video we've done.
I'm a Bigfoot guy. I gotta say, I think that first episode really, it really started the show off on a good foot. I really like that.
It did. Man, I don't know. Like I said, each episode has stuff that I like about it. So, Giant / Underworld, we did one of those already, Lance. We've done Hollow Earth. We've done Giants.
We haven't done an episode solely on Giants yet?
Didn't we?
No, sir.
We talked about them a lot.
We talk about Giants a lot.
All right, let's do one on Giants.
You want to go Giants?
Let's do Giants.
All right, I'm going to try to dig up as many pictures of giant skeletons and shit like that. I know that we talked about the Kandahar giant where the military went in.
We talked about the Kandahar giant. We talked about the giants that the Native Americans went to war with.
Yeah, we'll try to keep the Sasquatch talk limited on that one, and we'll keep it strictly legends, of giants being discovered, what possibly happened to them, which we've kind of talked about a little bit. Lance Curtis references the Japanese giant. I think what you're talking about is the famous video, and I don't know if you've seen this one, Matt. It's a giant Japanese man wearing a giant diaper, and he's walking down the street during a parade. It looks like a military parade. And as it turns out, that scene was actually from a movie. But conspiracy theories have said that the movie was created after the video to squash the footage and go, oh yeah, it's just part of a movie.
Okay, hold on a second. While we're getting theories and suggestions, I'm gonna look this up.
Dutch guy says giants and crossover Cyclops. We can talk about that. Yeah. Okay. We'll do giants and we'll do giants and legends of very large human beings.
Okay. I'm seeing it.
You see it?
I'm seeing it.
Yeah. Looks a little fake to me.
Looks a lot fake to me.
That's the way he walks. I'm like, I don't know. That doesn't look real to me.
That looks a lot doctored to me.
Right?
It's cool. It's a cool shot. It's cool.
Pull it up. Let's put it on screen really quick.
Hold on, let me get it queued up. Okay.
My first reaction when I saw it was, yeah, that's bullshit. No way. No way.
Yeah, it looks super doctored to me.
Helios and his trip to America with the Ark of the Covenant. We could talk about that. We'll do giants on the next one. These are all great suggestions. What about vampires and zombies? We did one on werewolves. Vampires and
werewolves. Did you hear about this English woman that was recently, her grave was recently discovered?
Yeah.
And they had a sickle placed across her neck in case she came back to life. That blew my mind. All right, I'm ready whenever you are, man.
All right, let's go. Let's pull this up. Yeah, here we go. Look at the traps on that guy. That's what I look like with my shirt off, by the way, just so you guys know.
But yeah, I mean, looks fake as all get out.
Okay. Next episode we'll do giants. Matt and I will take mental note of all these suggestions, and we'll just start knocking them out. I definitely want to cover Autek. I'm just going to jot some of these down real quick. So we got giants next. We got Autek. I'm just going to write music industry because I like conspiracy stuff too. And that can kind of go in with the music stuff, hidden messages, vampires, zombies. As a kid, because there weren't very many Bigfoot movies that I thought were good, monster movies always did something for me, and I was obsessed with vampire and zombie movies and werewolf movies.
Oh man, I'm all about a good werewolf movie.
Grim Reaper, that's an interesting topic. I don't even know
Fun fact, I have a deal with 5 buddies that are supposed to show up to my funeral wearing Grim Reaper outfits and not say a word to anybody.
That's funny. That reminds me of an episode of In Living Color where Jim Carrey plays Death, and he's in this bar, and there's this couple vacationing, and they're like, "Oh my God, it's Death," basically. And he's like, yeah. And one of the boys, like, this waitress comes up to him, and he's like, "You want to see something cool?" I forget exactly how it goes. It's been decades since I've seen it. He's like, "You want to see something cool?" He goes, "I think I'll have the whatever he ordered, the soup du jour, and you'll have the kidney failure, and the lady dies.
Oh my god.
There's a Bob Lazar of Autech. That's interesting. I'll write that down. Yeah, so this is the queue. We've got a queue now, Matt. We've got Giants / Cyclops, Autech, the music industry, vampires, zombies, and the Grim Reaper. We've got a couple months worth of shows right there.
There we go.
Little exciting news. Matt and I next week are taking a road trip from Arkansas down to, as you can tell, Matt and I are not just fans of the paranormal, but we're also car guys. We're going to be heading down to Bowling Green, Kentucky for a show called Mo Party. But I'm thinking, Matt, maybe we could make one special stop along the way. I got to figure we should get together and talk and see what's on the way that we could possibly get a little bit of footage from or something.
Okay. I do plan on showing you the house where a lot of my stories happened.
Perfect.
We can't get to it, and I definitely wouldn't want to go in it, but I'm going to take you and show it to you.
Okay, that would be cool. We'll get some footage of that. And then depending on how much time we have, do a little research on Kentucky and see what we can find in Bowling Green that seems interesting. Because we will be there on Saturday night. So I don't know if we're going to have a full-on show like this. If it's possible and we have time, we might do it. But I thought it would be fun. Maybe we can just do a live episode from a haunted location in Kentucky or something. I don't know.
Oh, man. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. There's got to be some sort of haunted restaurant or something. Maybe we can go live or eating dinner or some shit. That'd be funny. We'll figure it out. But yeah, so that was Talking Paranormal, episode number 15. I'm Chris. He's Matt. And we will see you guys on the next episode.
Have a good night, everybody.
See you later, guys. Remember, anything is possible.